Mark Carney promised the fastest growing economy in the G7.
The Canadian economy continues to be poor. More bad economic news. It's been over 10 years of this. Let's take a look.
The Canadian economy sputtered at the end of last year with a decline in gross domestic product. It's no real surprise given the conflict with our biggest trading partner.
Oh my gosh, of course. What did that take, 5 seconds? It's such a convenient excuse for people. That is not Canada's problem.
CTV's Annie Barishaw-Oliver joins us with a look.
Not our main problem. It's a problem, but it's down the list a ways.
Look back at the ups and downs of 2025. Annie.
Morella, 2025 was a wild year for the economy, with GDP swinging between gains and losses every quarter, and much of that was tied to U.S. trade policy.
In the fourth quarter, GDP contracted by 0.6%, compared to a 2.4% jump the quarter before. The drop bringing the country's overall growth in 2025 to just 1.7%, the slowest annual pace of growth since 2020.
Okay, so Canada's economy shrunk in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, in the U.S., it grew a little bit, about 1.4%. Take a look at this clip, though, just a little bit. This is Q3 in the U.S.
In our spotlight today, a new report shows that the U.S. economy grew by 4.3% in the last quarter. That's according to the estimate released by the Bureau of Economic Analysis, and it's a far higher than what economists had expected.
But let's keep assuming in Canada that we're somehow better than the U.S. For what reason? I'm totally not sure.
It does appear that ongoing uncertainty about trade policies continuing to weigh on business investment, and that's what's keeping the economy down towards the end of the year.
Economists say there are positive signs in today's data. Household spending and total capital investment, including by the government, are up.
On the metrics
including by the government,
currency traders look at, that global investors look at, the Canadian economy is holding up pretty well.
Economists believe that in the first quarter of 2026, GDP, Morella, will be flat.
Annie, thanks for that. Let's get some context from our chief financial correspondent, Amanda Lang. Amanda, government spending was a big driver of the economy at the end of last year. Do we expect that to continue in 2026?
Oh, good. Government spending, a.k.a. taxpayer money.
In a word, Morella, yes, government has been a big part of the economy for the past 3 years. In fact, capital investment by government has outpaced that by business every year for 3 years. That's not the greatest sign.
That's for sure. That's a terrible sign. Again, that's just money that they're pulling from taxpayers or printing out of thin air and creating more debt.
Some decent signs inside this GDP report, including consumer spending, final domestic demand. These all added up, economists said, to better than expected. But it's the business uncertainty that we would point to as the kind of red flag. Overall, what you see is a somewhat fragile economy and a business community that is on edge. You see that in the inventory drawdowns and in their lack of confidence. The question is, can government spending spur them to confidence, create the conditions for growth in the year ahead? Government spending will continue. It's been a big part of our growth. It shouldn't be the only part, Morella. In the end, if businesses don't go along for that ride, then we have an economic problem.
We have an economic problem. It's been going on for over 10 years. Two things come to mind. Number one, why don't voters give the other side a chance? Just try voting Conservative.
And we are now confident in making this call that the Liberals will form the next government in Canada. Justin Trudeau becomes the 23rd Prime Minister.
This is from 2015. The Liberals have been in power ever since. There's so many people that are so convinced to never even consider voting Conservative. Although the second thing that comes to mind there that's related, how can't Poilievre be doing better in the polls given this environment? Have you seen the polls lately? How can't Pierre Poilievre capitalize on this?
The Liberals currently have the upper hand in terms of a 7-point advantage. Will they continue to widen that? And how will Pierre Poilievre react? Because he's seriously trailing his party.
All right, Nick, preferred Prime Minister Carney continues to be in a major lead over Poilievre. What are your thoughts on that?
The thing is we look at Mark Carney, he's 13 points ahead of his party. He's at 54% on the preferred prime minister front. The Liberals are at 41. We talked about Pierre Poilievre. He's at 23. His party's at 34. So think of one leader, 10, 11, 12 points ahead of his party, and another leader, Pierre Poilievre, that is trailing his party.
Look, I know people out there like Poilievre. What has he done in the last year and a half to earn your support? I want to be clear. If you're a Poilievre supporter, I have no issue with that at all. I do think Canadians should be asking more from him, though. He was good when he was eating the apple.
Like who?
I don't know who, but...
Well, you're the one who asked the question, so
yeah.
You must know somebody.
Okay. I'm sure there's some out there, but anyways, the point of this...
There are so many ways for him, I think, to go up in polls. A weak economy, terrible relations with the United States, a lot of crime, a lot of stupid social policy, a lot of cultural issues in Canada that for some reason we're not even allowed to talk about. Anyway, that's not really the point of this video, but I think the things are related. How can't Poilievre be taking advantage of all the issues in Canada to go up in polls as the opposition leader? Okay, I criticized Poilievre there. Who, though, is the current prime minister? Of course, it's Mark Carney. Mark Carney's honeymoon, I think, has gone on for long enough. The media obviously loves him in Canada, but here's a Conservative member of Parliament. We'll play a little bit of her statement here.
Good morning, everybody. Mark Carney promised the fastest growing economy in the G7. We have seen on the numbers this morning, GDP is in fact contracting. $4 billion contraction in the last quarter, 0.2%, and we have seen now 2 quarters out of the last 3 where we see a GDP contraction. And not only that, we are in fact the only G7 country that is seeing a contraction in the economy in the last quarter. We're seeing other peers in the G7 growing, in fact. And when you look at this,
this is actually embarrassing. 2 out of 3 quarters contracting. Are you kidding?
Contraction. What does that mean for Canadians? It means there's no economic growth. There's less opportunities. It is no wonder that we see unemployment rising, and we have concentrations among the youth. Opportunities are decreasing for youth. There's hopelessness among youth.
Totally. Economic growth is directly correlated to salaries. GDP per capita and salaries directly correlated. How much everybody produces on average is how much everybody is going to earn on average. But somehow we still have money for foreign aid.
In addition, $2 billion of additional aid, military aid for Ukraine over the course of the next year. We're announcing that today. The Minister of National Defense will give details. And in addition to that, something Ukraine needs, which is 400 armored vehicles. We'll be supplying those in kind.
Canada needs a lot. There are so many Canadian children living in poverty. That just came out. By the way, this is a recent statement from Carney. There's so many of these announcements of him and other politicians sending money to Ukraine.
And this is also happening in the middle of an affordability crisis. We are seeing food inflation hitting record numbers. We see child poverty also hitting record numbers, where we see 1 in 5 children under the age of 6 living in poverty. And we're not only...
Isn't that incredible? Oh my gosh. Yet Canada spends like a rich country. Anyway, I'll finish my video there. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Have a great day.